Visual Philosophic Project, Cultural Theory, by Adriana de Santiago, Lauren Matthews, Desiree Blancarte, and Mayra Sanchez.
The concept of culture is defined in a variety of ways by anthropologists, political scientists, sociologists, and psychologists, and it is referred to the learned systems of meanings and patterns of behaviors that are shared by a group of people and transmitted from one generation to the next. One specific theorist who is considered the father of modern culture is Garrett Hofstede, whose work revolutionized the way we look at society. Garrett believed culture is how you are raised, and it developed while you grew older. Garrett also believed that culture is the software of our minds, and that we need shared software in order to communicate. So essentially, culture is about what we share with those around us. Garrett Hofstede is famous for his development of Hofstede's cultural dimensions. So this organizational culture model can help to identify cultural differences. He identified 6 cultural dimensions in differentiating cultures, which include power distance index, individualism versus collectivism, strong and weak uncertainty avoidance, masculinity versus femininity, long versus short-term orientation, and indulgence versus restraint. Moreover, it's important to note that there are different types of cultures, one of them being social culture, which consists of norms, roles, beliefs, values, and customs. There are many variables in a societal system that influence culture, race, and ethnicity. A few of these cultural elements may include one's social-economic status. Essentially, lower SES individuals may experience significantly different cultural norms from middle-class individuals, and middle-class individuals may experience significantly different cultural norms than those with higher SES levels. In other words, the differentiating social status and culture of individuals affect overall human functioning and are key factors to influence quality of life. Furthermore, it is important to discuss the notion of cultural pathways, and according to this view, adults in each culture have values and goals for themselves and for their children that shape and organize the socialization process and activities of daily life. However, there are diverging pathways which can cause children and families with a more interdependent home culture to be caught in conflicting socializing influences. Because there is a large number of immigrant and native families in the United States, such conflict may constitute a significant social problem. Overall, it is important to note that culture has been described as a worldview, which is a way of making meaning of the relationships, situations, and objects encountered in daily life. In the end, it should be of high value to embrace the cultural differences.
Hofstede's cultural value dimensions include individualism and collectivism. According to Hofstede, individualism is defined as a loosely knit social framework in which people are supposed to take care of themselves and of their immediate families only. An individual's social behavior is guided by their own personal goals and ambitions. Independence and personal achievement are highly valued. People with individualism culture prioritize their own personal growth versus group growth. Collectivism is characterized by a tight social framework in which people distinguish between in-groups and out-groups. An individual's social behavior is guided by goals that are shared as a family, tribe, work group, or political or religious association. Interdependence and group solidarity is valued as they expect their in-group to look after them. The in-group creates norms, goals, and beliefs that are enculturated and endorsed by its members. When conflict arises between group goals and personal goals, a person is expected to act in the best interest of the group.
An additional dimension to Hofstede's cultural theory is to explain the differences in values and how cultures function as society. Hofstede referred to these differences as masculine and feminine cultures. Masculine societies have distinct rules for men and women. Gender roles are clearly distinct, and in many cases, women are subordinate to male leadership. The priorities of a masculine culture include an achievement orientation, assertiveness, competitiveness, wealth, and ambition. These cultures are driven by success and personal gains. They want to be the best. In contrast, a feminine culture includes characteristics such as the degree to which cultures foster nurturing, family relationships, social and community support, and cooperation. Their priorities are a balanced quality of life and work, inclusiveness of all, and caring for others. A global perspective of masculine and feminine cultures can be distinguished in their value of power distance. For example, a masculine culture has a high power distance. An example is in the workforce. A boss is viewed as superior to their staff. In contrast, the power distance is low in feminine cultures. Bosses and employees are considered of equal status and work collaboratively. Examples of masculine cultures are the United States of America, Mexico, Japan, Germany, Venezuela, Switzerland, and Ireland. Feminine cultures include Chile, Thailand, Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and the Netherlands. When analyzing specifics between masculinity and femininity, the research article Feminine Leadership and Organizational Culture highlights masculine cultures and the barriers women face in the workforce. Women pose various barriers to hold a leadership position. The character traits of leaders are influenced by masculine characteristics such as an authoritative style and target task completion. This creates a significant gap in gender discrimination. This barrier is primarily because women traits are the opposite of how men manage leadership positions. However, a new form of leadership is being promoted as transformative leadership, which symbolizes leaders adopting a participative style, people-oriented, which encompasses the main characteristics of female traits. Nevertheless, the article states that national cultural characteristics are deeply rooted in citizens' mentalities, and various countries continue to prefer male leaders. As a result, women face the glass ceiling, meaning that women advance professionally within a company up to a certain point. On the other hand, when investigating the differences between masculinity and femininity cultures in respect to self-efficacy, the article, The Psychology of Voice and Performance in Masculine and Feminine Cultures and Contexts, highlights the mentality variations from both cultures. For instance, masculine cultures, the United States of America, focus on outperforming their peers versus feminine cultures, the Netherlands, centers on those who are less capable and create equality by working together as a team. The researchers analyzed the differences in thought process and reaction when individuals were not allowed to voice their opinion. There were two groups, those who performed above average and the average individuals. The individuals from masculine cultures who were above average felt entitled to voice their opinion and were not satisfied until their voices were heard. When compared to the feminine culture individuals, the above average conveyed a norm of modesty. It did not matter if their voice was heard. However, when compared to how the average individuals felt when they were allowed to voice their opinion, in the masculine culture, the individuals felt incompetent. Versus the feminine culture, individuals felt valued as an important group member.
I will be discussing a few different examples of cultural theory. These examples are based on two theoretical dimensions that compare different cultures. These two theoretical elements are cultural continuity versus cultural discontinuity and individualism versus collectivism. The concept of cultural continuity is defined as a culture that teaches their young children behaviors, skills, and responsibilities that they will continue to use throughout their development and take into their adult behavior. and this is compared with the concept of cultural discontinuity, which is defined as a culture that has behaviors that are deemed appropriate for children and behaviors that are deemed appropriate for adults. These differentiations are usually celebrated and called a rite of passage. Examples of rites of passage are the bar and bat mitzvahs in the Jewish tradition, quinceañeras in Hispanic culture, sweet 16s in American culture, and seijin no hi in Japanese culture, which all celebrate individuals coming of age and reaching adulthood. The next theoretical dimension is individualism versus collectivism. Individualism represents a culture that emphasizes the importance of social behavior being based on individual goals and achievements. This is done without only working towards benefiting an entire group of people. Collectivism, on the other hand, represents a culture that emphasizes the importance of social behavior being based on the goals of a group. Group harmony is heavily enforced, so it is important not to stray from the group ideals. An example of this is shown in parenting. Individualism cultures such as the countries America and Australia encourage their children for all of their individual accomplishments and for being their own unique self. Collectivism cultures, such as the countries China and Indonesia, celebrate closeness and strength between their communities, and they encourage group accomplishment and teamwork. Another example of individualism versus collectivism is the way these cultures view gender roles. Individualistic cultures are more likely to not have set gender roles or to enforce gender stereotypes. In more collectivist cultures, they normally follow more traditional gender roles, where the man is the breadwinner and takes care of the family financially, and the woman does not work but is the primary caregiver and takes care of the home and the children. The last example of individualism versus collectivism is arranged marriages and marrying for love. Individualistic cultures enforce the importance of marrying for love. They allow individuals to decide who they want to date and who they want to marry. They also support individuals' choices on whether or not they actually do want to get married and have children. Collectivism cultures are more likely to have arranged marriages because of the roles and responsibilities of the culture, which are of the utmost importance. Partners will be chosen for each other that will benefit the entire family unit and culture.
These are our references for the project. Thank you for watching.